I hate when I'm driving my car and then my feet suddenly really start itching. I feel so helpless. I can't do anything. Welcome to Rumble Book Club. I'm your host, Mike Hernandez, and this is the show where a normal guy like me can talk about interesting books I've read, old and new, good and bad, while I shift awkwardly in the seat during the middle of the video. So if you like the show, you like the comments, you like the books that I talk about, then subscribe right down below. And also subscribe on all of our different social media channels, donate to the show if you want, and just be a part of the conversation. Also, help us grow, share these videos with your friends, try and get the subscriber count up, because the whole goal of this show is just to get more people reading good books. All right, today's episode is literally just dedicated to my oldest son who asked me to read this book. It's actually the first time I've ever reviewed a young adult novel, and I actually really like this one. Today we're going to take a look at School of the Dead by AVI. AVI is a Newbery Medal winning author. He's written several best-selling young adult books, including one that I actually read in middle school called Nothing But the Truth, which I really enjoyed as well. This is the story about a young kid who moves from the East Coast all the way out to the far West in California, more specifically San Francisco, to a special school under the encouragement of his newly deceased Uncle Charlie. So looking at the aesthetics, it's very typical of young adult novels where there's a lot of action going on, a lot of activity, a lot of colors. You see a young Charlie running out of this beautiful school building with some supernatural things going on in the window here. Very typical. It always gives you a little snapshot of the story, so I always find that interesting. Now let's get into the readability. It reads very well. It's very smooth. It's easy on the eyes because of how large, very clear the print is. That's very typical of young adult novels. And also, it's very digestible. You can read things quite fluently, and the language he uses isn't far too advanced. So I'd say it's very appropriate for kids from, I'd say, third or fourth grade going all the way up to even adults. Adults can still get a kick out of this. I did, for one. So as far as the readability goes, it gets a perfect score, 10 out of 10. Now let's look at the content. So this story follows Tony Gilbert, a kid from the East Coast who lives with his mom and dad, both kind of workaholics. They have this house, and Uncle Charlie, who's kind of a weird figure in their family, moves in with them. And at first this really puts Tony off. He's not really a fan of it, but then he actually begins to be really close with Uncle Charlie. Uncle Charlie seems to become a little bit more youthful when he moves into that house, and he forms a very special bond with Tony. Their bond typically will surround things that aren't usual between an uncle and a nephew. It's always surrounding death and the macabre and the afterlife and ghosts, and in some cases even the occult. It's these very darker themes that tend to scare away a lot of Tony's friends. When Uncle Charlie dies in front of Tony, one of his final wishes is that Tony goes to the school that Uncle Charlie went to back in San Francisco, California, called the Penda School. His mom and dad agree to this, and they move all the way across America to get him enrolled, and he actually manages to find a spot very, very curiously when it's actually almost impossible to get in. When Tony gets there, he realizes there's a lot of things that are off about the school. For one, the principal, Mrs. Foxton, is very nervous. She's very shifty. At first she seems phony, but she also seems like she's filled with a special kind of fear. Tony senses this in some of the other staff members. There's a sense of nervousness, this fidgetiness, and he joins in 7th grade, which the year 7 is deemed by his Uncle Charlie to have a lot of significance. Tony's slow to make friends, and he makes a couple that are in this group called the Weird History Club, which says they designate themselves to find out strange mysteries about certain disappearances in the school. While all this is happening, Tony is consistently seeing Uncle Charlie in the form of a ghost, a figure that kind of stands quietly and either gives a comforting smile or is just standing there more annoyingly. And he also sees this mysterious young boy pop up throughout the entire school, whether up in the school towers or in the hallways or even in the classrooms in some cases. This boy looks very familiar, and as it turns out, looking into a little bit more of the school history, Tony finds out that this is what's known as the Penda Boy, a little boy that was there, that was the child of the founder of the school who died in one of the towers of the school. As the story progresses, Tony begins to get more and more on edge as more and more things become revealed, and the history of the school really becomes alive around him. Despite his best efforts, he realizes that he actually can't deny the existence of ghosts, because he realizes he is looking more and more of them in the eye the longer he stays at this school. And not only that, but it progresses to the point to where one of them is even after his own soul. It's exciting, it's fun, it's just an all-around great ghost story. So as far as the content goes, I'm gonna give it a solid 9 out of 10. This book is really enjoyable. Like I said, from about 3rd or 4th grade all the way up to adulthood, it's always good to just sit back and read a little ghost story. And it's a good, quick read. You could punch it out in a couple days worth of reading. I found this book at a small bargain shop at an outlet store in San Antonio. It's where I found a handful of good books. Saw it on the shelf. I knew my son would like it, and he loved it so much he recommended it to me. And I'm glad I actually took him up on reading it. You can find this book online. I haven't checked Barnes & Noble's site or their storefront, so I'm not sure if you can quite find it at Barnes & Noble, but I know for sure you can go on Amazon and find this book. The book is called School of the Dead by AVI. Go out and get yourself a copy because it's a fun read. Thanks for watching, everybody, and go read something.
Sometimes I feel close to the edge again, like my fire's gone now, no coal's burning within.
Hey RBC fans, if you want to support the show in our mission to share great works of writing with the world, scan the barcode to make a generous donation, and if you donate $50 or more and leave a book title in our comments, I'll even feature your book choice on our next episode.